Welcome, dear viewers. Today, we are embarking on a complex, historical, and deeply moving journey. We'll explore the long-standing impact of slavery and segregation on Black communities in the United States, the resilience and struggle for equal treatment, and the insidious mechanisms of systemic racism that have held back progress. Our story begins in the mid-15th century, when the transatlantic slave trade commenced, planting the seeds of disparity that would grow and persist for centuries. For more than 300 years, millions of African people were stolen from their homes, transported across the Atlantic, and forced into a life of servitude. These foundational years of America's development, marked by the dehumanization of an entire race, laid the groundwork for systemic racism that still reverberates today. With the Emancipation Proclamation of 1863, slavery was officially abolished. However, the physical and psychological scars were already deeply ingrained. It was not a transition to immediate freedom and equality, but rather the beginning of a prolonged struggle against new forms of repression and discrimination. From the late 19th century to the mid-20th century, the Jim Crow laws enforced racial segregation in the southern United States. Even outside the South, de facto segregation resulted in widespread racial disparities in education, employment, and housing, among other areas. Despite the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 and the Voting Rights Act in 1965, the impact of decades of segregation continues to be felt today. One significant manifestation of this is redlining. Instituted by the Federal Housing Administration in the 1930s, redlining is a discriminatory practice in which banks and other financial institutions refused or limited loans, mortgages, and insurance within specific geographic areas, predominantly Black neighborhoods. This practice severely hindered Black economic progress and contributed to the racial wealth gap that exists today. The effects of systemic discrimination in America took a sharp turn in the 1980s with the onset of the war on drugs. This campaign disproportionately targeted Black communities, leading to mass incarceration and continued disruption of family structures. Astonishingly, even though drug usage rates are similar across different races, Black individuals have been arrested for drug offenses at a rate 2 to 11 times higher than that of whites. As if these injustices were not enough, covert operations by government institutions furthered the destabilization of Black communities. Evidence suggests that in the 1980s, the CIA knowingly allowed cocaine to be trafficked into poor neighborhoods, largely affecting Black communities, exacerbating the drug crisis, and perpetuating the cycle of poverty and imprisonment. We must not forget the deliberate destruction of thriving Black communities. One prominent example is the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, which saw the affluent Black Wall Street burned to the ground by white mobs, killing hundreds of Black citizens and leaving thousands homeless. This horrendous act of violence was a stark reminder of how progress for Black people has been systematically stifled. Despite these obstacles, Black communities have shown tremendous resilience and continue to fight for equal rights and opportunities. From the civil rights movement of the 60s to the Black Lives Matter movement today, these struggles embody the relentless pursuit of justice and equality. However, there is still much to be done to rectify the systemic injustices that continue to pervade our society. Building on this legacy of resilience, let's delve into how Black communities have fought against these systemic barriers. The stories of resistance, resilience, and revolution have been written into every chapter of Black history. During the era of slavery, resistance took many forms, from the subtle, such as feigning illness or breaking tools, to the outright defiant, such as rebellions led by figures like Nat Turner. Post-slavery, the struggle continued through the tireless efforts of civil rights activists like Rosa Parks, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Malcolm X, who fought for the dignity and rights of Black citizens in America. Resistance and resilience continue today through community-led initiatives, educational and awareness campaigns, and more. Modern-day movements like Black Lives Matter demonstrate the ongoing struggle for justice and equal treatment under the law, spurred by repeated instances of police brutality against Black people. One can't discuss the fight for equality without acknowledging the role of Black women, From abolitionist Sojourner Truth to activist Angela Davis, Black women have consistently been at the forefront of the struggle for civil rights, often facing both racial and gender discrimination. Now let's turn our attention to housing discrimination, particularly redlining. While redlining was officially outlawed by the Fair Housing Act of 1968, the lingering effects of this discriminatory practice are still evident today, with Black neighborhoods substantially less likely to appreciate in value compared to white neighborhoods. The path towards rectification involves legal action, policy changes, and community advocacy. Regarding the war on drugs and the resulting mass incarceration, Black communities and allies are pushing for criminal justice reform. This includes ending mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses, decriminalizing or legalizing certain substances, and investing in treatment and rehabilitation rather than punitive measures. Activists also call for the end of the school-to-prison pipeline, a disturbing trend where children from disadvantaged backgrounds are funneled out of public schools and into the juvenile and criminal justice systems. As we look back at the dark chapters of our history like the destruction of Black Wall Street, it's crucial to ensure that such atrocities are not repeated. Remembering, educating, and advocating are key. Reconciliation can only begin with acknowledgement and reparations. The challenges that Black communities face are substantial and deeply ingrained in the fabric of American society. Yet the spirit of resistance remains undeterred. Through continued activism, advocacy, and policy reform, the journey towards a more equitable society continues. As we march on in this discussion, let's not forget the importance of economic empowerment in the struggle for equality. The restrictive policies of the past and present have stifled Black economic progress, but the response has been one of resilience and ingenuity. From Black Wall Street in Tulsa to thriving Black business districts in cities like Chicago and Philadelphia, Black communities have a rich history of economic self-sufficiency. These examples serve as powerful reminders of what can be achieved despite adversities and inspire a new generation of Black entrepreneurs and innovators. Today, many Black-owned banks and financial institutions are emerging as a response to the systemic economic discrimination. These institutions aim to offer a fair and equitable financial landscape for Black individuals and businesses, encouraging community growth and economic prosperity. Education has also been a central battleground in the fight for equality. Black scholars and advocates tirelessly push for an educational system that accurately reflects and respects Black history and experiences. This includes not only integrating comprehensive Black history into school curriculums, but also challenging and dismantling the systemic barriers that Black students face, from underfunded schools to discriminatory disciplinary practices. In the face of the war on drugs and mass incarceration, Black communities and allies have been leading the fight for prison reform and the destigmatization of drug addiction. Organizations such as the Sentencing Project and the Drug Policy Alliance work tirelessly to reform a racially biased system, advocating for a shift from punitive to therapeutic approaches to drug addiction. To combat the lingering effects of redlining, organizations like the National Fair Housing Alliance, along with local community organizations, work relentlessly to promote equal housing opportunities through enforcement of housing policies, community development initiatives, and education. Efforts to uplift Black communities are not limited to the United States. The African diaspora worldwide stands in solidarity, offering support, resources, and a platform for shared experiences and struggles. For example, the #EndSARS movement in Nigeria gained international attention and support, reflecting the global interconnectedness of the fight for Black rights and justice. Although the systemic barriers that Black communities face are daunting, the journey toward equality is ongoing and tireless. The fight is fought on all fronts: legal, political, social, and economic, in a multifaceted effort to dismantle centuries of institutionalized racism. The path towards a more equitable society is not easy, but the unwavering resilience and unity of Black communities and allies worldwide is a testament to the indomitable spirit of resistance. As we continue our narrative, we need to examine the role of legislation in shaping the realities of Black communities and the need for policy changes to create an equitable future. From Jim Crow laws to the war on drugs, legislative decisions have played a significant role in shaping the experiences of Black individuals and communities. In the face of this, Black citizens and allies have utilized their political power to effect change, from grassroots advocacy to holding public office. Key figures in this fight have included Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman elected to Congress, and former President Barack Obama, the first Black president of the United States. Yet there is still much work to be done. Advocacy for policy changes continues on issues ranging from criminal justice reform to voting rights. In recent years, the concept of reparations has gained traction as a means of addressing the economic and social disparities resulting from slavery and systemic racism. Reparations could take various forms, including direct payments, community investments, educational opportunities, and more. The idea has its critics, but proponents argue that it could be a significant step towards racial justice and healing. Moreover, Black communities are striving for a transformative approach to public safety, as seen in movements to defund the police and reinvest those funds into community services. This push is motivated by a desire to shift from punitive measures to preventative ones, focusing on addressing the root causes of crime and fostering community well-being. Across the globe, Black communities are pushing for the recognition and protection of their rights, often in the face of significant political and social obstacles. In Brazil, Afro-Brazilians are fighting against racism and for the recognition of their land rights. In the UK, the Windrush scandal has brought attention to the discrimination faced by the Caribbean community. In all these ways, Black communities are not simply the subjects of systemic racism, but active agents in challenging and changing the systems that uphold racial disparities. Each victory, no matter how small, is a step towards a more equitable society. This is not a fight that Black communities should or can undertake alone. Allies from all walks of life play an important role in supporting these efforts and advocating for change. Each of us can play a part in this journey towards equality, whether through learning, advocacy, or amplifying Black voices. The impacts of slavery and segregation have been profound and far-reaching. Yet through it all, Black communities have proven resilient and resistant. Their struggle, ongoing and relentless, is a testament to a powerful truth. Change is possible, and justice is worth fighting for. As we approach the end of our exploration, we circle back to our central point: the enduring resilience and resolve of Black communities in their fight for equality and justice. Despite the shadows cast by slavery, segregation, and systemic discrimination, Black communities have consistently proven their strength and tenacity. From grassroots activists to international movements, their collective voice continues to ring out, demanding change and inspiring hope. A crucial part of the path towards justice lies in recognition, reconciliation, and reparation. We must recognize and acknowledge the enduring impacts of these historical injustices. Reconciliation begins with truth, the truth about the depth and breadth of systemic racism. As for reparations, they symbolize a tangible commitment to addressing the economic disparities born from centuries of racial discrimination. But it's not just about policy changes or legislation, though they play a significant role. It's also about social transformation, about shifting our collective mindset and understanding of racial justice. It's about seeking to understand the lived experiences of Black communities, recognizing the value of diversity, and working towards an inclusive society where every voice is heard and every life is equally valued. Finally, it's essential to stress that this fight is not limited to Black communities alone. It's a call to action for all of us. We all have a role to play in dismantling systemic racism and creating a more equitable world. This can be as simple as educating oneself about racial injustice, challenging our own biases, amplifying Black voices, or advocating for policy changes. As we wrap up our discussion today, let us remember this. The history of Black communities is not just a tale of adversity, but a testament to survival, resistance, and resilience. In their story, we find not only a call to action, but also a beacon of hope. Despite the painful past and the challenges that lie ahead, their unyielding spirit inspires confidence in a future where equality and justice can prevail. Thank you for joining us on this journey today. Let us carry these lessons forward in our lives, using our knowledge as a catalyst for change. Until next time, stay informed, stay empathetic, and stay committed to justice.